Welcome back to Rails Minute, where you can find out more about what is happening with the library system. Hi everyone, I'm Dan Bostrom, Rails Director of Marketing and Communications, and I'm here with Rails Executive Director, Monica Harris. Hello, Monica.
Hi, Dan.
We just wrapped up back-to-back conferences in our very busy conference season. So can you tell us about how everything went and what was going on?
We love conference season because it's a chance for us to really get to talk to people individually. We got to hear so much from Rails members about the things that they are appreciating for Rails, as well as sharing their ideas for things we can do to make the Rails experience better, and that's always wonderful. At the ISLE conference that we had at Champaign, we had the opportunity to meet with a lot of folks and really talk about a lot of the things that are facing school libraries. But one really exciting thing that happened there was a live taping of our podcast, Can't Shelve This. Really fun to see how many people participated in that taping. It went really well, and I'm looking forward to people listening to that as well, because I think it really is a great encapsulation of some of the things that are happening in the school library community. So that was like one really fun highlight from that conference. We also, at the ILA annual conference, Rails had the opportunity to do a couple of really interesting things that we haven't done before. So the first was our very first data conference, Libraries Count. That was a pre-conference that was at ILA. And it was like really wonderful to be able to see how many people were interested in learning more about data. The speakers were really interesting and engaging, and it was a great opportunity to really see how some of those skills can continue to grow here in Illinois. We also saw the launch of our brand new cohort of leadership development, Catalyst, that also happened at the ILA annual conference. We are really thrilled for the opportunity to bring together some really amazing leaders from across the Rails service area and really work with them as they develop their own leadership skills and work together in that cohort. So being able to see that cohort in person at the conference was really exciting as well. But I really want to compliment ILA and ISLE on wonderfully and well-run conferences where there's a real chance for learning. I think this year in particular, it was really important for me to be able to connect with people and hear about what they were doing and like really bring us back to the values of why we do what we do. And it was a great time to be able to do that.
Yeah, that's a great reminder that, every day we don't necessarily see the people that we serve, and we don't get a chance always to kind of hear feedback from them. But when we do, it's awesome, and thank you for everyone that came to our booths and talked to us,
Absolutely.
Came to sessions, came to the data conference, the Can't Shelve This live podcast, everything that was going on. So it was a really fun time, and there was a buzz in the air.
Yeah.
So one of the unfortunate buzzes in the air is the recent closure of Baker and Taylor, and that's been a big topic of that people are talking about with us. So we're having a lot of people come up and ask us how that is going to impact the eRead Illinois Boundless platform. So we're happy to report we've made some progress. Would you talk a little bit about that?
Yes. So I know that there's a lot of concern, and we are also concerned about the closure of Baker and Taylor and the team that we had worked so closely with for so many years. And there are immediate impacts for a lot of libraries in the area in terms of their print collections. But the immediate thing that happened here at Rails, as you alluded to, is our eRead Illinois program, which allows for ebook reading and audiobooks. Over 900 libraries use that program, is hosted by Baker and Taylor, which means that we have to make kind of immediate changes in order to maintain that program that we're so proud of and we know is so important to so many of our libraries. So I want to share a little bit about next steps here, but there's going to be a lot more in the coming weeks. So just rest assured for anybody who may be hearing about this for the first time, we will be communicating in all the ways that Rails communicates to share this information and make sure everybody has what they need to know how to move into next steps. So the first thing that I want to share that I think is really kind of an exciting part of this process is as we kind of went through to see what we could do and how we would want to transition the program, there was one particular group that really stood out to us as being something that we thought would work really well for the eRead program, and that is the Palace Project. Some of you may be familiar with the Palace Project and what they do, but essentially it has the ability to aggregate several different ebook vendors under one umbrella and allows for people to access all different types of content within that same app. But people can also purchase directly from the Palace Project. They work really hard on trying to make sure that there are good ebook terms. They were formed under a Knight Foundation grant. They're a nonprofit. They're really focused on libraries, and they're run by Lyricists, which is a group that we have worked with extensively in the past. There are also other big statewide programs that run under the Palace Project, including that in Georgia and California, so that we know that they can handle a program the size of eRead, which was also really important to us moving forward. But I do want to share just kind of a couple of really important dates for this group, just anybody who's really wondering what next. So the first thing that we want to make sure people are really aware of is we do have to transition from one app to another, and that means that there will be some interruptions to patron experience in the app. So the first one is that almost immediately we have to turn off holds in the app, because it doesn't make sense to have people continuing to place holds on material that they're not going to be able to get through the Boundless app. Next, we also are going to have to make sure that people are aware that any outstanding holds that have not been fulfilled through Boundless are going to end. I know this is not an ideal experience for patrons. This is not how ideally we would do this process, but unfortunately, because of the time constraints and wanting to make sure that we have as little interruption as possible to this process, we've got to move quickly, and that means creating some of these interruptions. So that's some things so that in terms of bad news that we want to be able to share and make sure that people are aware of. The final day that anyone will be able to check out any items in the Boundless app is going to be on November 2nd. So November 2nd will be the last day anyone can check items out. And then from there, we're going to be working into moving things to Palace. So the Boundless app itself will stop functioning and be fully retired on November 17th. That will allow us time to move content over to the new app, and then the new Palace app will be available on December 2nd. So this is a pretty tight timeline to get where we need to go, but we are confident with our team in place and the groups that we have been working with around this, that this is a timeline that we can hit, and we're going to make sure that we're doing everything we can to make sure that libraries have the communication tools they need, make sure that they understand how the new app works, and that they can communicate how to work and use these things with their patrons. But rest assured, we know this is a big lift for our libraries, and we really want to thank you for your patience as we transition through this process. This is a big challenge to navigate, but we know our team is up to it, and we really appreciate the support of libraries. We've heard from so many library partners about wanting to make sure that they're communicating with us, not only about what they need, but wanting to know how they can support this process moving forward.
And a lot of sympathy for the libraries out there that are having to transition from from Baker and Taylor as a book distributor to another. I know that that's a challenging process as well.
Yes.
And so we feel the pain that you are. We're doing our best to address the situation. And again, as Monica alluded to, we really appreciate all the patience that you've been able to give us during this time. So one piece of information also to pass along is we're going to be talking more about this transition at the upcoming Rails member update on Wednesday, November 12th. So can you talk a little bit about what other topics are going to be discussed at that event?
Yeah, so in addition to a robust discussion of the eRead Illinois kind of update, we are also going to have some representatives from the Illinois Library Association to talk about an Illinois legislative update. There's a lot of new legislation that we want to make sure that libraries are aware of, and so we're really grateful that they're coming to discuss that. And we're also going to have an update about our Find More Illinois program, which is really seeing a lot of growth. It's wonderful to see how people are using it and how many folks are coming on board. So we thought it was a really good time to be able to share that with the Rails membership.
Yeah. Speaking of legislation and advocacy, we're going to be talking about that at the Rails member update, but there are also some ILA legislative meetups that are happening very soon in our area, and I wanted to give you a little bit of chance to talk about the issues that are going to be discussed at those meetings and kind of how those events unfold.
Before we even start talking about the issues, I just want to encourage anybody who's never attended one of these legislative updates. They are great events, and they're great because it gives you an opportunity to speak directly to the lawmakers who are really thinking about these laws and how they affect libraries, and really talk directly to libraries from their service area. They want to talk to you, and so for anybody who's never attended one of these and has been thinking about maybe this is my year to come and check it out, I want to encourage people to take a look at it because it's such a good experience to be able to share the important work that you're doing with people who are making important decisions about the work that you do. And so I know those are coming up in mid-November and early December, so I encourage people to take a look at the ILA website to check that out. But there are some really important pieces of legislation, that we want to make sure that you're aware of. So I just kind of want to go through a bit and talk a little bit about some of the things that they're going to be talking about at some of these upcoming ILA sessions. So the first is around ebook pricing. We all know that ebook pricing continues to be a major issue for libraries. The demand for these services grows, and every year the amount that libraries spend grows. We are seeing spending that kind of goes beyond what libraries can even afford. And I think this is true both for public and school libraries and all of the metered access that happens through the big five publishers, but this is also very true for academic libraries and the types of publishing issues that they see. And so we want to make sure that our legislators are really aware of these continued pressures that are happening with public dollars. These are things that we need to make sure that our legislators understand, and so there's going to be some real educational pieces around what ebook pricing is and why this is an important issue for libraries across Illinois. We've also been discussing some of the legislation that has happened elsewhere this year in Connecticut. New Jersey has a new bill, and some of the strategies that they're taking and really trying to figure out what the right move for legislation in Illinois might be. So stay tuned for more of those conversations, but I think this is an important one that the Illinois Library Association's Public Policy Committee and the ILA Executive Board have identified as being important. Other issues that they have also identified as being priorities for this year include a trustee training requirement. This was actually a proposal that originated from Rails and Rails' own Joe Philippak. This is because we've heard so many times from libraries over the years about the importance of making sure that trustees receive regular training and understand what it means to be a great trustee. We have so many wonderful trustees in the state who are volunteering their time and energy, and we also have a great resource in the iLead platform that is available completely free to trustees to receive training about what it means to be a strong trustee here in Illinois. There are also many other types of training that are available to them, including training at their own board meetings. So we know that this is a great opportunity for trustees to think about this. We know there are other pieces of legislation that already exist in New York and New Jersey like this, and even here in Illinois, school boards and also community college boards have some level of continuing education in terms of their requirements. So this is just in keeping with some of those, and we're interested to see where this legislation might go. Next is open educational resource funding. This has been identified as a big priority for academic libraries, and Carly in particular identified this. There is a real opportunity to continue to fund these open educational resources that address some of the rising textbook costs that exist for libraries, and it also creates a really significant equity gap in terms of higher education. And so having an amount of money, they're recommending $3 million that's available to higher education institutions to create these open educational resources that allow for better spending. That's something that they would like to see this year. And then finally, there is also a request to consider an increase in per capita funding for public schools and the library systems. This is in acknowledgement that the last time that this was raised was in about 2020, and inflation in those years means that there's about 20% of the value of that has now been lost. Costs continue to go up, libraries continue to face those costs, even here at the systems we continue to face those costs, and so there is a recommendation that there be some consideration in terms of the amount of money that comes through those per capita grants. So that's also a piece that'll be discussed at those upcoming legislative meetups.
Yeah, those are fun events, and I will say, as you mentioned, if you are out there and you are in a library and you're wondering how can I help the profession, how can I move things forward, these legislative meetups are great places to do that. They're great places to connect with local legislators, other library staff. They are great ways to figure out what the future of libraries is like, and these initiatives that you mentioned are really important for us and for the libraries that we serve. So. All that said, I want to end this on a lighter tone. We've talked about the eRead transition and legislative issues, so maybe we can have a little bit of fun here. We want to announce, and this is exciting, that hoodies, sweatshirts, and zip-ups are now available in the Rails online store just in time for sweater season, sweater weather. So would you talk a little bit about that and what's going on in the Rails store?
Well, first of all, I love a hoodie. And I also think that our team has done a really good job of designing some really interesting, kind of library-focused materials that people might be interested in. I know some of the folks that came to visit our booth really loved the pins that we were giving out at the booth, and that same design is, of course, available there. It's important to remember that anything that comes through this store is priced exactly at what it costs. So Rails isn't making any money off this. We're trying to just make sure that these things are available for those who want them. So take a look and see if there's anything that might work for you.
Yeah. So library legislative meetups might not be for everybody, but if you just want to buy a hoodie and represent libraries that way, that's fine too. Okay, well that will do it. As always, you can submit any questions or topics to the Rails communications team, communications@railslibraries.org. A reminder that the Rails Minute is available as a podcast. Please subscribe wherever you listen. Monica, thank you so much for joining us.
Thank you for having me.
And thank you for watching.